From the mighty Tsars to humble nobles, Imperial Russia had one of Europe's most complex aristocratic systems. Today we're exploring 12 fascinating noble titles that shaped the world's largest empire for centuries. 1. Emperor of all Russia. Emperor and autocrat of all Russia was the supreme title from 1721 to 1917, replacing the older title of Tsar. Peter the Great introduced this prestigious rank after Russia's victory in the Great Northern War, wanting Russia recognized as equal to major European powers. The Treaty of Nystad in 1721 marked this transformation when Russia's Senate and church leaders honored Peter with this imperial title. In 1722, Peter revolutionized succession rules, allowing emperors to choose any worthy heir instead of automatic male succession. This marked the beginning of the Russian Empire, which lasted until the monarchy's abolition in 1917 during the February Revolution. 2. Tsar and Tsarina. Tsar, derived from Latin Caesar, meaning emperor, was used by Slavic rulers for centuries. The first was Simeon I of Bulgaria, but in Russia, Ivan IV the Terrible was officially crowned Tsar of all Russia in 1547. Even after Peter the Great switched to emperor in 1721, people continued calling rulers Tsar. The title remained in official designations for conquered territories like Poland, Georgia, and Crimea. Non-Russians, including Muslims and Siberian tribes, knew the Russian emperor as the White Tsar. Nicholas II was the last to hold this title when the monarchy ended in 1917. Tsarina was the Tsar's wife, though after 1721 it became informal for empresses like Catherine the Great, affectionately called Mother Dear Tsaritsa. 3. TSESAREVICH and TSESAREVNA. Tsesarevich was the official title for the Russian throne's heir from the 18th century until 1917. Peter the Great introduced this after becoming emperor in 1721, with his grandson Paul being the first to officially receive it. In 1797, it became the legal title for heirs, often paired with successor, as His Imperial Highness the successor Tsesarevich and Grand Prince. This differed from Tsarevich, a general term for any Tsar's son. The last holder was Alexei Nikolaevich, son of Nicholas II. TSESAREVNA was the heir's wife, meaning Grand Duchess. Peter the Great's daughters Elizabeth, Anna, and Natalia held this title early in the Russian Empire, not to be confused with Tsarevna, used before the 1700s for all Tsar's daughters. 4. Veliki Knyaz, Grand Prince Veliki Knyaz, meaning Grand Prince or Great Prince, ranked below Emperor and roughly equaled Grand Duke, Archduke, or King. Though usually translated as Grand Duke in English, this isn't exact. In Russian and German, Grand Prince and Grand Duke are different concepts. Historically, Grand Princes ruled large territories called Grand Principalities like Lithuania, Transylvania, and Finland. These titles mostly disappeared by 1918, replaced by kings or emperors. Ivan IV was the last ruler using Veliki Knyaz as his highest title before becoming Tsar in the 16th century. Afterward, it became a courtesy style for Tsar family members without actual ruling power, maintaining prestige within the imperial hierarchy. 5. Prince of the Blood Imperial. Emperor Alexander III introduced this title on January 24, 1885, to limit Romanov family members titled Grand Prince. Each Grand Prince received massive state allowances, 200,000 rubles annually, plus special privileges, creating financial strain. This reform reduced costs and preserved exclusivity by restricting the Grand Prince title. From then on, male-line great-grandchildren of emperors and their descendants received Prince of the Blood Imperial instead, distinguishing them from nobles with simpler prince titles. This created a clear hierarchy within the imperial family, separating immediate relatives from more distant ones. The change reflected practical governance needs while maintaining aristocratic distinctions essential to Imperial Russian court protocol and social order. 6. Knyaz, Prince. As Russia expanded and absorbed former Kievan Rus lands, the title Knyaz evolved significantly. From the mid-1700s, it was revived for sons and grandsons of Russian emperors in the male line. However, Knyaz remained a hereditary noble title for families descended from rulers like Rurik and Gediminas, who once ruled small medieval principalities. After Muscovy absorbed these lands, noble families joined Moscow's court, keeping their princely titles. In the 18th century, Tsars granted Knyaz to loyal supporters like Menshikov under Peter the Great and Potemkin under Catherine the Great. These ancient princely families formed the backbone of Russian high nobility, maintaining their status through centuries of political change and territorial expansion. 7. Gertzog, Duke before Russia unified under Muscovy. Regions were often tributaries to Tatar Khans with inconsistent noble titles. Under Peter the Great, the German title Herzog was Russified to Gertzog, appearing in the emperor's full style as Gertzog Schleswig-Holsteinsky, Duke of Schleswig-Holstein, reflecting dynastic ties to German and Danish lands. This title was also used by foreign nobles, especially French and German relatives of the Romanovs, though they weren't formally part of Russian nobility. The ducal title represented Peter's westernization efforts, importing European aristocratic structures to modernize Russian court hierarchy. These titles often connected to territorial claims or diplomatic marriages, strengthening Russia's position in European royal networks while maintaining domestic noble distinctions. 8. Graf. Count Peter the Great introduced the title Graf, Count, during his nobility reforms, borrowing from the German system. It was granted to noble families of ancient lineage who lacked formal titles but supported the Tsar's westernization efforts. Prestigious families like the Sheremetovs, Tolstoys, and Stroganovs received this title and often outranked even princely houses due to their wealth and influence. Unlike in France or Germany, the Count title in Russia was rare and carried significantly greater prestige. These families formed the core of Russian high society, combining ancient bloodlines with modern administrative roles. Their estates and cultural influence helped shape Russian aristocratic identity, blending traditional Slavic nobility with European court sophistication throughout the imperial period. 9. Baron. Muscovite Russia had no native baronial titles until Peter the Great introduced them in the early 18th century. In the new nobility system, barons ranked above untitled nobles and below counts, addressed as Your Wellborn or Master Baron. There were two main types: Baltic German nobles whose existing titles were officially recognized, and new barons, often wealthy commoners elevated by the emperor. After 1721, the baronial system flourished until abolished in 1917 after the Bolshevik Revolution. However, some white movement leaders like Baron Pyotr Wrangel and Roman von Sternberg continued using the title during the Russian Civil War. These titles represented Peter's systematic approach to creating a European-style nobility hierarchy in Russia. 10. Dvoryanin. Dvoryanin was the lowest rank of hereditary nobility in Russia. The word comes from dvor, meaning court, as they originally served at courts of rulers or high nobles. They were free commoners who held privileged status, often serving nobles who themselves owned serfs. This created a complex social hierarchy where even the lowest nobles maintained superiority over common people. Dvoryanin status provided legal privileges, educational opportunities, and social mobility within the rigid class system. Many achieved higher ranks through military or civil service, demonstrating the Russian system's potential for advancement. This title represented the foundation of Russian nobility, connecting ancient court service traditions with Peter the Great's modernized aristocratic structure throughout the imperial period. These noble titles created one of Europe's most sophisticated aristocratic hierarchies, reflecting Russia's unique position between East and West. From mighty Tsars to humble Dvoryanin, each rank played crucial roles in governing the world's largest empire for over 2 centuries. Read Triclaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.